Free money for everyone. Hi guys, it's Maverick and welcome to another new video. Today we'll be talking about money. More specifically about Budget 2023 that Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Lawrence Wong announced on Valentine's Day just a few days ago. And more importantly, how it will affect the property market in the next few years to come. There are other changes like the increase in GST vouchers or the extra additional registration fee for luxury cars, but for this video we'll just be taking a look at the policies that will affect the property market. Firstly, let's talk about HDB. They will be implementing further support for first-time families and young couples who are applying for their first BTO flat. They are introducing a new subcategory of first-time buyers comprising families with children and couples below the age of 40 years old. So essentially, if you fall under this category, you will have additional ballot chances added during your application. So practically this just means that you're a first timer on steroids. Secondly, to aid first timers in buying their first resale HDB flat, HDB has increased the CPF housing grant from $50,000 to $80,000 if you are buying a 4-room or smaller flat. And for singles, it has been increased from $25,000 to $40,000. Now a lot of folks will be wondering if this implementation will cause the HDB prices to increase again, but personally I don't think that increasing the grant amount will affect the prices that much. This implementation is to offset the lowering of the LTV from 90% back in 2021 to the 80% we have now. So for example, if you're a couple buying a 4-room flat for $500,000, back in 2021, you could just come up with $50,000 as down payment, and if you could qualify for $450,000 loan, then you are good to go. However, in this current market, you have to fork out $100,000 of down payment, which is rather difficult for a couple in their late 20s or early 30s to cough up. And I haven't even included the buyer's stamp duty. So I'd say having an additional grant of $30,000 is a very welcome change, since the target audience aren't the cash-rich buyers who are willing to pay cash over valuation just for a house that they like. These are the buyers who will buy the HDB flats at fair value, thus maintaining the prices of the HDB resale flats. Okay, next up, let's talk about stamp duty. Wow. At first glance, you might think that this is a cooling measure, but I'd like to think otherwise. This is purely a way for the government to increase their revenue and works as a sort of tax on the wealthy. Okay, first up, if you're buying a residential property above the price of $1.5 million, you'll now be paying a marginal buyer stamp duty of 5% instead of the previous 4%, and if you're buying a property above $3 million, your marginal buyer stamp duty will be at 6%. But in reality, what does it really mean? So if you were buying a $2 million property, you would have to fork out a whopping $5,000. Wow, hard to imagine, right? If you were to buy a $3.5 million property, then the increase in taxes would be $25,000. But okay, here's where the changes really hit. If you were to buy a $5 million property, the increase in taxes would be $55,000, which is 1.1% of the purchase price. And if you were to be buying a $10 million property, the increase in taxes would be $155,000, which is 1.55% increase in the purchase price. Now these numbers may seem very large to you, but consider the fact that if one were to buy a property that's worth more than $5 million, they would be considered the super wealthy. In fact, to put things into perspective, the median price of a condo in Singapore is around $1.5 million, and the median price of a landed property in Singapore is around $3.8 million. So you can tell that this change won't really affect the mass market, and it's very unlikely to dampen the demand for luxury homes as well, since the demand is pretty price inelastic. Lastly, I want to touch on the changes in CPF contributions. By 2026, the income ceiling for CPF contributions will be bumped to $8,000 instead of the current $6,000, which means if you were to earn an income of $8,000, instead of receiving $1,020 from your employer as CPF contributions, you will now be receiving $1,360. However, this will also mean that you will need to contribute $1,800 from your own income instead of $1,200. So, how will this affect the property market? For mid to high income earners, you will now have more money going into your CPF OA, which can be used as down payment for your home or even to pay your monthly installments. This will certainly increase the buying power of these workers, which might trickle down to an increase in property prices. But to be honest, I think this will mostly affect the private property market, as the buyers who are earning more than $8,000 do have that kind of purchasing power. I do think that the government's move for this was so that Singaporeans will have more savings for retirement considering the uncertainty of inflation, but the property market will inevitably be affected as well, but to a much smaller extent. So yeah, that's pretty much all the property related policies in Budget 2023. Overall, I think the budget this year is aimed towards helping the lower to mid-income Singaporeans ease into this high inflation economy, and at the same time implementing wealth taxes to generate revenue for the government. So that's it for my video. If you guys found this useful, do share it with your family and friends. If you have any questions or you don't agree with anything I said, do leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!